Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Donovan, and today I want to go ahead and share with you a comparison of the Amazfit Bip. So this is the original Amazfit Bip that came out a couple years ago, and this is the brand new Amazfit Bip S, which is going to be released here in the United States very shortly. Just got released in India. In today's video, I want to talk about number one, is this watch worth getting? We'll go more in depth in that in the final review, but then also if you have the original Bip, should you upgrade to the new Bip S? So that's what we're mostly going to be talking about in this video. So there's 6 areas that I think they've upgraded. So let's go ahead and talk about those. There may be more. If I'm missing anything, just go ahead and let me know down in the comment section, and we'll definitely try to address that in the full review of the Amazfit Bip S. So first thing I want to talk about is the GPS. So the GPS on the original Bip was not the greatest. Let's be completely honest. I had runs where I would be as much as like a quarter mile off on like a 4 or 5 mile run. So it wasn't the most reliable GPS, and the Amazfit Bip S is definitely a huge upgrade in the GPS department. So let's go ahead and slide over. Whoops, I'm in the wrong thing. Let's go ahead and hit that. And we're going to go into our workout. So what I'm going to show you is just a comparison. I've been wearing 2 watches for the last 3 days. So I've had this now for 3 days. And I wore my Apple Watch here and also the Bip at the same time. So you can see in today's run, I ran a little over a half marathon. Only 4 100ths of a difference in terms of the distance. Here for yesterday's run, you can see there's only 6 100ths of a mile difference over the course of 11.32 miles. And then the original day that I got this, and what I talked about in the very first run, there was a difference of 11 100ths. So over the course of 11 miles, 11 100ths. So 1 100th of a mile different from my Apple Watch on that first day. But the last 2 days have been a little bit better. So I would say GPS is dramatically improved. And the second thing I'm going to go ahead and just show you real quick is the heart rate sensor. So the heart rate sensor on the original Bip, again, was not phenomenal. I mean, it just wasn't very consistent. So you can see here, heart rate overall for the entire run, 149, here, 150. So very, very close. Let's go to yesterday's run, just so we can show you how consistent it's been. So here 150, here 150. So very, very close. The only day that it was a little bit off was that first day, and that's because I wasn't wearing this watch tight enough, and it was giving me really high readings at first. But once I tightened it down, it got a lot better. So that's why this one's a little off compared to this. Because while I was running, I was looking at the two, and they were always very consistently within a beat or two of each other. So the heart rate sensor, and you can see just by looking at it, that it is an improved heart rate sensor. So this one does have those 2 little optical sensors, same here, but it is dramatically improved. The heart rate sensor here was only sort of reliable. It wasn't super consistent here. Very consistent, very reliable so far. So if those 2 things are important to you, definitely it would be worth upgrading from the Bip to the Bip S, in my opinion. The third thing is the water resistance. This one for me is one that's not all that important. The original Bip had IP68 water resistance. You could go swimming with it, but it doesn't track any swimming workouts. So if I go here into the workouts, and I don't even swim for workouts. That's not a thing I do. I mean, I was a swimmer in high school, but you can see you can't actually track any swimming here, where over here, this now has 5 atmospheres of water resistance, and you can actually track swim workouts. So again, it's not something that I do. I don't go out for long swims or anything like that. I haven't done any lap swims or anything like that in a long time. So if that's something you want, though, you definitely want to go with the Bip S, because it's not even available here on the original Bip. Now, the fourth thing is one that I think is probably going to be the most important for those of you that maybe aren't you don't care as much about the active features on these watches, and that is the Bluetooth. So this original Bip had Bluetooth 4.0. The connectivity to your phone wasn't always the most consistent. For the most part, I didn't really have too many issues, but the range wasn't all that great. You couldn't get very far away from your phone before it would lose connectivity. Here, We now have Bluetooth 5.0, so the range is definitely a lot better. I can go from, if I have my phone in my basement, I can go up to the second floor and it's still connected. So the range has definitely been a little bit better on this one. Also stays connected to my phone much better than the original Bip. So connectivity, also improvement. Another thing that's changed, I don't know if it's an improvement necessarily, but the screen has changed. So you can see this one technically has a black background right now. So this watch face is supposed to be a black background, where this one also has a black background. You can see that the black is a lot more black on the Bip S. So I don't know if that's going to make a difference for some people. They're both still trans-reflective. They're both still TFT. So in comparison to something like, I don't have it sitting here. I thought it had it sitting here. But, obviously in compared to like an AMOLED display, it's just not nearly as good. They're still the same size screen, so that's not an improvement. But they did change the screen technologies just a little bit. Still very viewable in sunlight. Still not very viewable in the dark, so you're going to have to turn on the backlight. So you simply just hit the button, you turn on the backlight in order to see it in the dark. So that's the fourth thing. The fifth thing is there is just a slight difference. This one, again, not a huge improvement, I would say, but there is a slight difference in the software. So you can see here, if I scroll from the top, from my main watch face here, I have 4 shortcuts here. I just have Do Not Disturb. That's my only option here. Everything else mostly the same, but here I have my brightness, I have my Do Not Disturb, I can lock the screen here, and then also I can have a shortcut for my music. Here, if I scroll up, we just go into notifications, that's the same thing here, so that's not changed at all. Obviously this one's not connected to any phone at the moment. And then if I scroll to the right, you can see this one goes through status, activity, weather, alarm, timer, compass, settings. So you can see it's all visual. Over here, if I scroll, you can see it's going to go into shortcuts. So we have my music shortcut, we have our activities. So here it just automatically goes right into it rather than having to go into it. And it's actually called status on this one. It'll just go right to that. Here we do also have the PAI, which is your physiological activity indicator. I can't remember exactly what that stands for, but basically your goal is to get to 100. You can see, obviously, I ran basically a half marathon today, not a race or anything, but you can see, obviously, the goal is to get to 100, and then the next thing is the heart rate sensor and weather. So I do like that it has these pictures. You have your weather information here. So I do think that the screen actually is improved here, but that's it in terms of the software on the watch. So that is also another change. The last 2 things I want to talk about are actually things they didn't change, which is a good thing, and that is battery life. So battery life is still pretty much the same. So with the original Bip, with super, super heavy use, which is how I would consider myself, you could get about 10 days, and obviously with lighter use, you can get 30, and then you say up to 40 days of battery life. I never got that because I'm a super heavy user. But over here on the Bip S, basically the same. So I just charged it up last night. Let's see where we're at. So I ran a half marathon distance, and you can see I'm down to 84% today. So 16%, I ran 13 miles. You can see, track my steps, my heart rate all day. I have it on the most active heart rate sensor. So that's like every minute it's checking your heart. Plus when you're active, it automatically checks it as well. So if you're doing an activity, it's automatically going to turn that on the entire time you're doing the activity. So super heavy user, and I've gone through 16% in one day. So, I might only be getting 7 to 8 days of battery life, but again, very heavy user. And then that's the first thing. And the second thing is they didn't change the weight. So, despite the improvements that they put in here, so the new GPS, the new Bluetooth, the new heart rate sensor, those are the ones I would say the most important things. The weight didn't change. So super lightweight. This one comes in at, I think it actually is 32 grams. This one's actually 31. Now, I did read somewhere, somebody said that the thickness is different, but it's only 1.8 millimeters is what I read. So I don't know if you can tell that from looking at them, but I don't know that it actually makes a difference to me. It's still super lightweight. And overall, I definitely think the new Amazfit Bip S is definitely worth the upgrade, especially if you're someone that cares about GPS and heart rate. So if those 2 things are important, or if you're a swimmer too, that would be another thing that might make the Bip S worth upgrading from the original Bip. So there are still some shortcomings. We're going to talk about that when we get to the full review of the Bip S. That'll be coming here in the next couple weeks. Or probably in the next week or so. I'm also going to be comparing this up to the GTS. So a lot of people have been asking me to compare this up to the GTS. That one's a little bit more expensive. It comes in at $150, but it has an AMOLED display, slightly different software from Amazfit as well. So we'll be comparing that up in a future video. So definitely subscribe. Thanks for watching. I hope this video has been helpful for you, and we'll see you all in the next one.